playing with friends or something like that.
That's awesome. Oh, you're a total nerd. That's cool.
Oh yeah, man. I celebrate that. Me and my friends, we actually have a games night every so often, where we get together and we literally pool in all the systems, and we go through maybe like 10 games throughout the night. And we just chill at my friend's house.
Nice.
Yeah.
I miss those days, man.
What about you guys? What do you guys play?
Hopefully Anthem.
Ubisoft, okay.
Yeah, definitely the Division.
Yeah. You gotta go to the back. Assassin's Creed. Yep. Yeah, my brother's a huge Assassin's Creed fan. Like he, so much so to the point where he feels like his opinion should be inputted into the game. You know, he's like, why don't they just do this? You know, he gets really vocal about it, man. Really vocal.
That's cool.
Yeah, very vocal. He's like, only if they did this, I'm sure it would sell better, even though it's doing great. You know.
Sweet. So have you got nice Adrian's on AnthemCast? Sweet. Awesome. How's our levels? Oh wait, do you want to check Zencast levels first? Blah 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 blah. Alright. Are you getting activity on the other? Excellent. Oh, that video's playing. Let me know when the video finishes through the delay, right?
You're up.
Javelins, freelancers, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to AnthemCast. I am but one of your hosts, Ogaz, but joining me on the other side of the planet, as usual, is a man who will be buying Anthem on no less than 3 platforms. He will pre-order every statue that will ever possibly be made for this game, and I'm sure there'll be many to come in the near future. Of course, I'm talking about no other than Mr. Binary Numb. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and I've been told I have to buy the minimum of 3 handbags if I want to buy any Javelin statues for my wife.
Oof.
But it's a necessary evil. I'm good. I'm good. It's hot Sunday. It's absolutely roasting here in the UK. Like I'm not joking. It's like so hot. It's
You get the
like
inverse of our country going on right now.
God,
Because
it's
polar
ridiculous. Yeah, and
opposites.
it's so hot that I woke up this morning, water the flowers in the front of the house, and there was a drunken girl on the grass on this little meadow over from our garden lying. It was it was great.
Nasty. And of course, joining us, a special guest, a very special guest, a man who, when he's not being Storm, he's playing Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and when he's not playing Dragon Ball Fighter Z, he is joining us this evening, as he is now. And of course, I'm talking no other than the awesome, epic, amazing Adrian Walters. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. I'm doing amazing. Just got up a little while ago, about an hour and a half ago, and I'm here. So I'm excited.
You woke up at 8 o'clock for us.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. It is early, right? And where are you? You're Toronto, aren't you?
Yes, Toronto.
And are you Toronto born and bred?
Yes, I am. Well, I actually live in Brampton, which is about half an hour away from Toronto. So
Okay.
I grew up in Toronto up until about, I would say 10, 11, and then I shipped off to Brampton. I've been here for about 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a Bioware local boy, because they're based out in Edmonton. Well, not local necessarily, but near enough.
Yeah, fairly close, yeah. They're out in Edmonton, so it's
Closer than us.
yeah.
This is true. That's awesome. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, if you don't know what's going on, of course, Adrian played Storm at E3 and had to don that epic suit from Henchman Studios. No doubt we'll talk about that, I think, later as we get through the show. But I'm curious, maybe if we can start the ball rolling, Binary, the questionnaire that we usually display or engage with guests. Would you like to kick that off for Adrian?
Yeah, I would. If I can find the screen that I have the questions on. There we go.
Oh my god!
I need a third. I think I need a third
guy.
one. This is crazy. I need a third one.
Professional. He's got the Twitch. He's got the Twitters. He's got all things going on.
Yeah.
Can't
Also,
open a Word doc.
just like to acknowledge everybody in Twitch and Mixer chat. We haven't so this is the first time we're doing it. So please, in chat, if there is any levels that are out or any audios, please let us know sooner rather than later. Just so you're not missing out on the fun that we're having. And we got a follow. Whoop, whoop. All right. So questions for Mr. Adrian Walters. Here we go. Sonic or Mario?
Sonic or Mario? I would say Mario. Closer to my heart. Yeah.
Good call.
Closer to my heart.
Do you have a particular Mario game that you like to play, or is it? Do you remember playing one that would make you choose that over Sonic?
Super Smash Bros.
That's so good. Do you have a Switch?
What, like?
Are you gonna get it on
Pardon
Switch?
me?
Are you gonna get it on Switch?
The
Smash
new
Bros.
one?
Yeah.
I don't actually have any Nintendo systems, so I play a lot with my friend Ryan. He's a big gamer, so we usually get down on that during our game nights. Yeah.
Desert Island scenario. Call of Duty or Battlefield?
Call of Duty.
Whoa!
I knew it.
Modern Warfare 2, because Modern Warfare 2 was what like first made me fall in love with Call of Duty.
Nice.
And then after that, the only ones that I really give time of day is either Black Ops or Black Ops 2.
Oof. Black Ops 2 is pretty good.
Yeah, I just can't really deal with the spaceships involved now. I feel like it takes me out of it a bit. You know, the whole space element, the jetpacks.
The future sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, they tried to get back with World War II, but I still don't think they got back. It's still not as good.
Yeah. Battlefield's amazing. I had a chance to actually play the new one that's coming out.
Did you?
That's going to be special. Yeah.
Did you really? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Jealous. And was that at E3?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Oh, we'll come on to that in a bit. Yeah.
Was that? Wait a minute. Wait. Were you in the suit when you were playing that?
No. This is during downtime. This is why we had breaks and whatnot. You know, we were running around and just playing everything.
Yeah, it would have been pretty starstruck. All right, here we go. Considering the javelins, the 4 of which you, of course, were a part of at E3, which do you like best? Interceptor, the little green fellow, or Storm?
Storm.
Bias.
No, there's no bias controversy there at all.
Kind of biased, but even so, like I got to watch a lot of gameplay. Like the whole Bioware team was so amazing, like showing us the different like, mechanics of each character and how they function. So we got to see a lot of that. And Storm, in truth, was by far my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really enjoyed seeing like that kind of gameplay. Another one that took me by surprise was what's his name? Big boy.
Oh, thick boy. Colossus.
Yes. Colossus was like my second favorite. That took me by surprise because at first, like when we were building the suits, like I thought he was gonna be like a slow, clunky kind of guy. But man, in the game, he just takes off. So that was a huge surprise for me.
So they put a slow, clunky guy in the suit, but in the game, he's actually quite agile.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I would say Storm and then Colossus. Just to use the big boy, you know.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, that said, which of them would you take to dinner?
Interceptor.
Storm.
I would say Interceptor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that because who is in the costume or because of the costume?
Who's in the costume?
Truth comes out.
Amazing. Yes.
Awesome. Favorite gaming platform?
Right now, I've been using PS consoles a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge Xbox fan. I don't know how many toes I'm going to be stepping on right now, but I feel as if Xbox gamers are stronger than PS gamers.
Oh,
yeah.
He's not dipping his toes in the water. He's just stamping.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I am an Xbox player at heart. I'm now a PC. I'm PC and Xbox predominantly. But yeah, I happen to agree with you. I find PS4 players are moany. They moan a lot.
You know what? Like, I remember playing like multiple games online for PS4. I know for my Xbox and like having difficulty winning games, whatever game I was playing. Like being really good, but also being really challenged. And then I remember my brother, who used to live with me, he had a PS4. No, he had a PS3 or PS4 at the time. And I remember he had the same games I did for my Xbox for his PS consoles. And I remember he told me to like fill in for him one day. I was just playing all the games on his consoles. I noticed I was trashing everybody. So I was like, what is going on here? And I'm going back to mine, and then I'm facing a bit more difficulty no matter what server I was on. When I was playing on PS, I was just walking through everybody. So that kind of confirmed it for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your favorite game of all time and why?
Favorite game of all time? I would say Halo 2.
Ooh,
Nice.
choice.
Yeah, Halo 2. Special place in my heart growing up. Me and my cousins and my friends on my street, growing up, we would play it for hours, man, like 10, 12 hours of gaming. Literally, like, just, we didn't see daylight at all. We woke up in the basement, lights off, playing Halo 2. We had the surround sound system going in each corner, thanks to my brother, and we just played forever. So that game is truly a special place in my heart. Halo 2.
Yeah. And just the multiplayer maps, like, there's so many good maps in that game.
And then even discovering the glitches. Oh my gosh, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. I remember we had things like we get like white bed sheets and we'd have them up on the wall and we'd have projectors running and like big, massive old TVs, like 68 centimeters CRT TVs with tubes and just anything we could have to display the game.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I'm a big fan.
Good stuff.
Actually, when I was down in LA with Bioware, I remember I had a moment where I was waiting to go out. They had us in the back room and we were all suited up and whatnot. And I was just sitting there and I was waiting and I started to think to myself, I'm living my Halo Boy dreams.
Hell yeah.
My young Halo Boy dreams. And I remember I got so excited. And one of the team reps, Amanda, I remember she was looking at me. She's like, wow, he's like really into this right now. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I just realized. I was like, I'm literally like Master Chief. I'm literally living my Halo Boy dreams. I was freaking out, and it made me that much more excited to be out there, to be in the suit, and just to be able to show up and just get everyone's reactions. That was, man, it was dream come true.
It's interesting you mentioned that because the suits are currently at San Diego Comic-Con, and I think it's only the Ranger that they've got walking around at the moment, but they've got the other suits on display, and because they're not suited out, and we'll get to this in a moment, perhaps with your experiences with Henchman, but because they're not fitted out, the suits actually look more not fake, but they lose the aesthetic because the body's not physically in there. And you didn't see that. I think in the images that we saw of you guys all suited up, it didn't have that weakness. Like the Interceptor, for example, it's all you're seeing a lot of the leather kind of bubble up on the dummy that they've got it on, and I presume it probably fits the character or the model that was using it much better. So
image on screen. Image on screen.
I got to see that. On one of the reps of Bioware that we were working with down in LA. On her Instagram story, I got to see the costumes pinned up, and you're right, it didn't have the same effect by no means.
Yeah, right. But did they talk about, were they having more actors at San Diego for that, or did they call you? Did they not call you, bro? What? Tell us.
No. They really needed, like, for the launch of it.
Right.
They really needed actors in the suits, but for San Diego, like, the world had kind of gotten an introduction, especially through like social media. So seeing it in motion. So I'm assuming that like they felt like maybe they didn't completely need, the whole real life action as they had before in LA, because like people have a gist of it. So they only had the Ranger going down in San Diego. Got
it.
Yeah.
Well, look, I want to come back to this because I think before we get there, I was curious to explore like your journey here. I mean, we've talked about the fanboyism and the geek gamer side, and and I know you didn't mention it already, but the Dragon Ball, like that, like, so where did that come from for you as a gamer? Is that something that's in your heart, Dragon Ball FighterZ, or what?
Yeah, like I've always been like growing up in Toronto, like I remember the area we lived in, it wasn't the greatest, but my mom was really smart. What she did was, instead of like telling us that we can't go outside, she basically put in front of us like all the best games, so that we had no desires to leave the house.
That's smart. Yeah. No gang crime for you children. It's video games.
And you realize that now as an adult what she was doing. She'll confirm saying that's exactly what I was doing.
But you said they're playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. We weren't allowed to.
Show you, Mom.
We found our ways around it. We definitely played Grand Theft Auto. A lot of Vice City, a lot of Grand Theft Auto 3. San Andreas was a big one.
Oh, that game.
Yeah. Even the characters walk, man. It was so hilarious the way he just walks like.
Yeah.
That was a big favorite.
Big
bicycle. Like riding a bicycle around GTA, like I could just do it all day. I never got a car, just a bike.
Yeah. The weaving side to side, that's the best. But games were a huge part of our childhood growing up. We played a lot of, we pretty much almost had every system. Well, not every system, but the majority. We played a lot of Nintendo, the first Nintendo, We played a lot of Super Mario. We played a lot of Sonic. You know, when we did get our first PlayStation. We played Crash Bandicoot, if you guys know about that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we played a lot of Crash
Prefer to
Bandicoot.
forget it myself, but anyway.
Yeah. We played some Spider-Man. We pretty much had everything, you know, and kind of worked our way up, and still gaming now, you know, more than ever.
Awesome. So how did that, that passion of games, what you've been doing, how did that then fall into acting? Because, you've been doing some pretty incredible stuff. I've noticed you were doing stuff on not all TV stuff, but you're doing stuff like performing in theatre. But then you're also doing work. Of course, your biggest work most recently is The Handmaid's Tale. So, I was telling my wife, I was having a chat about what you've been doing, and she's like, "Oh, Commander Horace." And I'm like, "Yeah, Commander Horace." So, could you tell us how did you fall into acting, and what's that transition like? Where did that come from?
Like coming from like the gaming background of just loving games growing up and playing a lot. I would say how I fell into that was my mom, like outside of like gaming and stuff like that, she always wanted us to have like a bit of pocket money. So what she did was kind of got us into doing some extra work. So we did a bit of background on set and whatnot. And I remember when I was about 17, 18, I felt like I wanted to be more in front of the camera versus like hidden in the background. You know, I noticed it's almost like that passion for gaming, just wanted to go. Like for example, like I'm not sure if you guys ever played Dynasty Warriors.
Yes.
But I am a strategy guy, but like I just want to run out into the battlefield and just
smash.
Just go crazy. So I feel like that same passion transitioned to acting, right? I felt like I could move in the background of it, and I wanted to be more so in the front line. And I always felt like it was something I could do. You know, like if I, like invest myself into it, I could learn how to do that craft, how to bring truth to the text that you're given. So around 18, I remember first year out of high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I remember in my last year, I seen a lot of friends gear up to go off and start their careers as if they had already known what they wanted to do. And I was kind of really just hanging out, really. I didn't really figure it out then. And so first year out of high school, I remember I was like, if I'm not doing anything, I at least want to make money. If I don't know what I want to do yet, I at least want to make money. So I started doing construction. That wasn't there. Like in terms of like feeling like something I can do for a long time. It was just something that I was enjoying making money with. And then I set out to message agents, principal agents, which is like there's background agents and then there's principal agents. So I messaged a bunch of principal agents. One got back to me and then invited me down to his office, met with me, said, I love your energy. I'd love to take you on. But first, I want you to come down to a workshop that's going on this weekend. So I was like, okay. So I remember at that same weekend, my friends and I were throwing a party at a hotel. And yeah, a party in Mississauga, which isn't too far from Brampton. And I remember while everyone was partying, we had two rooms. So we had one room on the opposite side of the hall and another room on the end. And I remember while everyone was partying, I was in the hallway trying to learn a monologue for the first time. You know, like I was reading through the script, reading it multiple times, just trying to understand it. Like, what can I bring to it? And it was there where I started to notice myself like shifting in terms of my focus and my attention and what I wanted. And I noticed that it was similar to like that passion that I have for gaming of just wanting to get something, wanting to learn how it works and literally, playing the game over and over and losing to the boss a million times. But each time you lose, you're learning a different way of taking a chip off that health bar, So that's what it felt like to be breaking down a monologue. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't be doing it right, but it's like every time it's like taking a chip off that health bar until you eventually understand what you're doing. And then I went down to that workshop. I remember I sat in the front row and I didn't know anybody. And I remember even getting there was a bit of a trip, because even though I had like pretty much, like, even though I was like 18, I didn't really travel too much out of the city, out of Brampton, when I moved from Toronto. So I remember when I was trying to get there, I Google mapped all the directions on the computer in the lobby of the hotel, and I stepped outside, and I was still lost. You know, after reading all that information, I was still lost. And
It's because you're used to being in the basement playing Mario and Crash Bandicoot.
Huh?
Because you're used to being in the basement playing Mario and Crash Bandicoot.
Exactly. You know, I didn't really have to leave. But yeah, like I remember there was always, like, every single time, like I remember I got to the bus stop, I didn't know where I was going, but someone would come along and say, hey, I happen to be going in that direction. If you want, you can follow me. And I remember that happened 3 times until I eventually got to where I was going. And it was at that moment where I started to notice as if like there was something moving around me getting to this acting class and me being a part of this business. And yeah, and that's pretty much how it's done for me.
You just managed to metaphorically intertwine gaming with real life. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Like it's all part and parcel. Like there's a meaning behind what we do as gamers, and it will affect and influence everything we do in our lives. I like.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. You know, passion is passion. You can like infuse it anywhere.
That's cool. So you're, so you've done that, and then you've obviously been doing some stage productions, and your most recent stuff, as I said, is a Maidens Tale. So how's that been going for you? Is that must have been like that's a big deal, right? That's a massive show.
First, that's an 8.6 rating. 81,000 people on IMDb voted. 8.6.
Yeah.
Like, to get above 7 on IMDb is like a milestone in its own, but you breached 8. You're 8.6. It's a good show, right?
It has been a phenomenal experience. Like, even the audition process for that, like, they're so top secret that you don't even know you're auditioning for the show. Yeah. It's under a code name. I can't even say the code name because I'm contractually obligated not to. But they have everything under a code name, so it's not until you get the role that you know that, oh, I'm on the Handmaid's Tale. You really don't know at all until you get booked. So I remember, like, when I
auditioned like a Big Brother.
I don't know how the auditions are for Big Brother. I have a friend of mine who's a big fan of it, but I'm not sure if he's ever like shared that info with me, because I know he wants to be on the show.
Nice.
But yeah, it has been a wonderful time being on set with everybody. Specifically working with like Joseph Fiennes and Stephen Kunkin. They have been amazing. Just even for me as an actor to learn, great lessons on behavior, because that show is really still and subtle. Yeah. So it's just a lot of behavior to basically tell the story with just a few words. So stepping on set for me, I was like a kid in a playground, you know, just open to learn and to just soak up anything that I could. And I remember I had watched episodes 1 through 5 when I eventually found out it was The Handmaid's Tale. I decided to give myself a bit of an education on the background of the show and what it's like. So I watched episode 1 through 5. I remember the last episode, I believe it was Jezebel's, and it ended with Joseph Fiennes and Elizabeth Moss playing chess in character. And it was a huge game of subtext in terms of what was going on in their eyes and the moments before of things that took place. And I remember just watching that and being blown away by his work, and then being able to show up on set and actually tell him what like his work meant to me was huge. Because that was the first time I've ever been able to do that in my career. Because I watch a lot of the Leos, the Denzels, but I have yet to meet those guys, and let them know what it's been like for me experiencing some of the things they've done. So being able to just step on set, just being able to speak to the man too, and just how much of a humble guy he is. I remember after a take, I was kind of off camera just watching him do a take with the Chris Gillett, who plays Commander Grinnell, and everything that he was doing, he took a lighter out of his pocket and he lit it. And the way he lit it and lit the cigarette and then closed it and then put it back in his pocket looked like, for standing up from the outside in, it kind of looked like this beautiful dance of rhythm. And I remember after they yelled cut, I walked over and kind of slapped him on the shoulder. I was like, that was amazing.
Are you saying he made smoking sexy again?
Yeah, I told him that was amazing. and he was he was such a humble guy. He was just saying like, you know, oh, don't follow me. You know, like I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, I'm still trying to learn this thing, and that was also a huge lesson for me. Seeing someone who's at that level, you know, being able to work with him, and him still saying, I'm trying to find new things to learn about this thing, was really, really huge for me.
I like the eccentricity that you described there in the moment of like the Halo being Storm, that whole passion that you experienced at E3, and it's very almost a mirror of the experience you just described in terms of the Handmaid's Tale. Like you're having a lot of fun the last 12 months, I think.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been really fun. I got no complaints.
And I do have to ask this question: have you had anything to do or spoken to Yvonne Strahovski, which is Serena Joy?
When I was doing episode 13, we're in the same space together. We're being held in the same space, but we didn't really exchange too many words. She was talking a lot to I don't know her name right now. I believe her name's Corinne, but who plays Stephen Conkin's wife on the show.
Yeah, right.
Her husband's, their last name is Putnam. I don't remember her name specifically, but they were doing a lot of catching up in between takes. So there's very small moments for me to speak to her.
No, I asked because she's of course Australian, and I went to we went to like our sister schools together. So I knew her in 14, 15, year 8, year 9, and
wow, what was that like?
And she was always in like Guys and Dolls and Oklahoma and all the musicals. She was always the lead, and one of those girls persons that you think would just escape into obscurity. And then one day she's on Chuck. I'm like, oh my god, I know who that is.
Yeah.
It's funny, your descriptions, I think, would probably marry hers to a certain extent, although she, I think, realized quickly that to get any gigs, anything of use, she had to get to LA, and the rest is history. That's interesting.
Yeah, I learned a lot from her, though, too. Like, when I was in episode 13, I had no lines on that episode. I was just on the council since I'm a commander on the show. I was on the council, but Joseph was doing pretty much all the talking to his wife in that episode. And I remember seeing her, because I had seen a chunk of the show up until that point. When I was doing episode 13, I pretty much seen the entire first season. And I was always blown away by her character and the emotional journey that she had to take in the show, that she has to take in the show. And seeing how it's kind of like played out on set, her doing it, I remember there'd be times where like they'd be laughing and telling a joke, and then they say action, and then she does something, and mid-take she'll start laughing again and say, all right, can we start over? and seeing how like they kind of break it all up and then do it eventually, like one pass through, but just seeing how much fun they have, as well as like the team spirit. I remember like after a take, Joe would look over to Yvonne and say, good job, I love it. That's definitely a trailer moment, and the support system, and just seeing how she received that and send the same back his way. So great people working.
Awesome. And that I was just going to ask you who your idols were in terms of acting, but you dropped Leo and Denzel a moment ago, so
yeah,
they're probably the most prominent.
Oh yes. Leo and Denzel have been a huge influence on me as far as like acting goes.
That's a pretty good influence.
Everything they've ever done.
Awesome. And Binary, we were talking about, I guess, the modern take of communication brand, in particular with gaming. Anthem, The Division, Destiny, a lot of these sort of games, these community-driven, multiplayer-centric RPG games, they tend to attract an audience, a community, and a passion. And we commented, and we've often commented how I think the gaming scene, the media scene, the publishing scene, all the things around that have changed. And I was curious, what's your take on that in terms of media, movie, and distribution? So, the way that movies, of course, are made, the way TV shows are made now, much different from when we were growing up. How has that shaped your thinking differently in your acting approach, or what you're looking for in work, or even the stuff with Bioware that you've been doing for Storm? Like, how is that as the social media network? How has those things changed, or how is it different for you in the modern era of film and TV?
That's a deep question, bro.
Yeah.
It is, man.
I think a simpler way of asking that, do you find that like your social media presence and all the other stuff that sort of comes around on the outside of just going to gig, like actually going to do rehearsals or auditions all the time, do you find that you have to work on your social media profile and you have to work on yourself as what kids, right? My daughter's 8 years old and she now gets taught personal brand at school, right?
Wow.
Can you believe it? Like, it's literally like Fifth Element, like coming all over again. Anyway, do you find that that's actually quite a big part of everything that you have to do? So obviously, I can see you got some like self-help posters on behind you, right? So it's the self-empowerment for the day in the morning.
Yeah.
That I'm a great believer of that, right? So you have to empower and remind yourself constantly to be better, right? But do you find that with social media and everything else that sort of helps drive and create sort of more of a buzz around everything that you do?
Yes. For quite some time, I wasn't utilizing it as much. I have been in the past, I would say 3 months, based on advice from like my team, my management team, telling me to utilize it. They're saying, basically their advice to me was, you're in all these things now. You got a lot of things coming out. You have to be, you have to be in a space where people can find you.
Yeah.
He's like, they were telling me basically, you got to let people know where you are. And that's as simple as just being online and sharing some of the things that's going on in your life, whether it be being down in LA and working with Bioware, being in the Storm costume and being on a TV show, and just giving little snippets of behind the scenes. I definitely feel like that is a bit more important in today's age, because social media can definitely help push whatever your brand is or whatever you're trying to market. And we see it all over, in every industry, gaming industry, acting industry, music industry. It's definitely changing the game for a lot of people, and it's cutting out a lot of the middlemans, especially as far as marketing goes. So I've been utilizing it a lot more now. But like for me, it's always just about the work. Like as an actor, the most thing I'm excited about is being able to like pick up a script and relate to it and getting to bring something to it. So for me, that's always like the key thing. And I am very much on social media. I've been utilizing it a lot today. And I feel like it's best to be used just with a healthy perspective, And I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine just yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, should we talk about E3?
Please.
So, how did you end up in a 7-foot Storm costume?
Tell that story. I want that story.
I want to know what that story is.
I think because we want to be. Then.
So, this story starts off very sketchy.
Started in a seedy bar.
Alcohol.
I was wearing nothing but my pants.
Oh, very, very sketchy. So,
Pants. Come on.
I remember I was filming my last episode of The Handmaid's Tale in season 2, and around the time, I remember I was on set and I got like a text message from my friend Frank, and he's like, what did he say? He said, Kiriana is trying to get a hold of you. Please message Kiriana. I was like, okay. I didn't do that. There's too many things going on. I didn't message her. I said, I'll get to it. So I eventually leave set, and I went to a Jays game. I get another message from my friend, please contact Kiriana. Okay, well, after this game, I go home. I forget about it days later. She's trying to get a hold of you. What are you doing? And I'm like, okay, I'll message her. So I do. I send her a message, and she said, so there's a team that wants to potentially work with you, and they want you to send them your email. okay. I was like, okay, that sounds super sketchy, but sure. She didn't even tell me what it is. And so then she's like, okay, she's like, I got a hold of your email because I didn't message her back. There's just so many things going on, so it's just really hard to keep track of like these messages and whatnot. So she was saying, I got your email from Frank. I sent it to them. They said they emailed you, but you haven't responded. And I was like, I didn't get an email. I was like, what am I looking for? Like a subject header or like a company? And she said, you're looking for Henchman Studios. So I go through my email, I search the entire thing, and I realized that I didn't receive an email, that maybe it was a wrong email that she got. So then I resent her my email. Things had kind of slowed down after that point, like after finishing the episode on Handmaids, and like not that many auditions. I was able to just focus and just deal with everything.
Yeah.
So I gave her my email, and then they followed up with me, and they sent me an email, Henchman, and they were saying, "Hi, Adrian. We were referred to us by your friend Kiriana, and we'd love for you to come in and meet us." Okay. So still don't know what I'm doing. So I remember I Googled the address, and I go down to where they're located, and I got out of the train station. I took an Uber over, and I was like, huh, this kind of looks weird. This air, because it almost looked like a car, like a auto yard,
Yeah.
Where their shop is. It's literally in the middle of an auto yard. So I was even having trouble finding the building, and I remember I was getting lost, and then I eventually called Jillian, who's spearheading the team, and she's like, "Oh yeah, come to this section of the buildings." So I went in.
The sketchiness is just getting bigger and bigger in your head.
Oh yeah, like even Uber weirded out. He's like, "Where do you want me to drop you off?" I was like, "I don't know. I have no clue." So I eventually find the location. I go in. I meet Jordan and I meet Jillian. They shake my hand, and they're like, "Thank you for coming out." And yeah, so basically what we're doing is we want to see how good are you with walking in stilts. And I was like, okay. So still, I have no idea what I'm doing other than walking in stilts. And I was like, okay, I've never walked in stilts. I don't even know what they are, but sure, let's see what we can do. So they basically strapped me into something, and they're like, we just want to get an idea of how comfortable you are in these. So they had me put on two different kind of stilts. So ones that are almost like a raised platform, so as if I'm standing on tall blocks almost and walking. And then another one is more of a bended angle, so I'm walking on an angle, and then I'm kind of like hovering my body back, holding my body back and walking like this weird way, but eventually get used to it. So they had me walk in both of those, and then they said, okay, thank you for coming in. I was there for about half an hour. We'll be in touch. I was like, okay. So, yeah.
You're like, am I auditioning for the circus, carnival?
Yeah.
What am I going to be?
So I still had no idea what I was doing. And then I went home, and I got an email from them, and they said, so basically, we sent a video of you walking in these stilts to our client, and they said they want to cast you in the part that we have, but they couldn't tell me, and I realized why is because they were under an NDA, so they couldn't really say anything until I had committed to it, and then they could kind of spill. So it was a weird way of doing things for me personally, because I didn't know what I was getting into, but I was just like, I'm open. I'm open to whatever's going on. I'm not closing out any opportunities or experiences. So they told me if I can come down to the shop again. So I go down to the shop again, and that's when they basically had half of Colossus built. Nice. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And they're like, yeah, so basically this is one of the suits that we're building, and what we want to put you in is this character suit called Storm. Now they're like, but we can't really tell you too much.
I want that one. Can I have that one?
No, I didn't want that, man. That looked like it weighed 1 million pounds. And God bless Sean, who was in that suit, man. He was a trooper, because that thing is heavy. But they're like, we want to put you in the suit Storm, and but first we have to get you to sign this NDA. So as soon as we sign the NDA, then all the information started to spill out, and they started to tell me about like the way he looks, and just giving me information on the character, and they were showing me basically what they wanted to build around me. And then they started taking my measurements, and we went through that whole process, you know, the fun stuff. And then for about maybe 2 months, we were coming in every other day to basically learn how to walk in stilts as they continued to build this suit around us and get comfortable to the weight adjustments, you know, and being able to hulk around something that's 70 pounds, because it's 70 pounds.
So wow, so that suit was custom built to you as well. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, it was mind blowing, man. It was mind blowing to see like them take my measurements and them seeing it go from like a certain cloth material that they can just tear and just cut just to get a frame of my body, and then seeing the actual suit being built piece by piece. It was mind blowing. Just to think that it would end up the way it looked on the day versus where it started. And only if you were there you could even begin to understand like the magic of what Henchman did. Like they're rock stars, man. They spend so many hours.
Your feet are actually at the knee joints, right? So is that about the approximation?
Yes.
I suppose the way you're walking. Because I was looking at that. In particular, there's a shot of you where you kind of you're looking like I think Interceptor's quite close to you, and you're kind of trying to pivot a little bit, and it looks like you're moving your foot inside the knee joint there, or trying to.
Yeah. So it's pretty much at the knee joints.
Right. And how long did that process take? Like, you know, in Hollywood, you know, suiting up, all that kind of stuff can take a long time. How long was the final fit into the suit?
Like suiting up, like every day?
Yeah, like suiting up. Yeah.
For me specifically, because Storm was the most technical. Because Storm, you know, he got the lights on the shoulder and he has the pretty hand. You know, he's really special and extra when it comes to what he has on his body. So for me, it took roughly about, I would say, like at first it took about 40 minutes to get me into the entire thing. But then we found ways around it of speeding up the process. So on any given moment when I needed to be in suit, it took us roughly about 25 minutes for me specifically.
Okay, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, Interceptor was about 10 minutes. Ranger 20. Colossus was 5 minutes. And as big as he is, they built him specifically so that he pretty much disattaches himself pretty much from the hip. So you just had to step in and then throw the top on, clip, and he was good to go.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So how long? I might have missed that, but how long did the process from the point where they casted you and you agreed to dive down the rabbit hole that you had no clue about apart from being on some stilts, to the point where it was like a functional suit? Like how long was that period? I'm not sure if you said it actually. I'm sorry if I missed that, but how long did that take?
It took us, I would say, maybe two to 2.5 months.
Wow. Right. Yeah. That's not a short period of time either.
Yeah, and they were plugging away because it is a lot to do. Each suit took a lot of time, like thousands of hours, and it came bit by bit. And my suit specifically, we had to make so many like last minute adjustments based on, because like you would build a new piece to the suit, and then it would cut back on a certain measurement, so now it no longer fits. Right. You know, so it was my tech for my suit specifically, Mike. He had his work cut out for him because there's so many different technical things about Storm's suit. So like I was saying, like he would build a leg piece, which was maybe like one of the last things to be built, and then it would change measurements in other areas. So then he had to rebuild everything, and then he had to cut out certain things, reshape things, retake measurements, find ways, and find ways around it as we continue to move towards our deadline. And then I remember it was a big celebration down at the Henchman Studios with Bioware when we finally got like the clearance, when we finally just managed to make everything work and everything fit. And I remember it was a wine celebration. Everyone was like, woo! Everyone was jumping for joy.
So what's the proximity
so much work
to E3 then? How many days out was it ready before E3? Are we talking hours, days, a week? We had to clear the suits and ship them to LA by our last our big celebration happened on the 1st, so they were shipped out by next morning.
Yeah, they were shipped out by yeah, June 2nd. They had to be down in LA. However, and they had to be like packaged and sent there just so that they can clear everything and make sure that nothing like broke in the crates, and everything would be good. And even when we did get there, I remember like something did get damaged, so Henchman Studios was on it right away as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot of work, but I gotta praise those guys, man. They did such a phenomenal job.
And so did they then pick the body structure? Because I know there's a great, if you're watching, there's a great video on YouTube of Henchman Studios talking about the production, and it's where I guess we're focusing on some of these questions. But they did mention that they were talking about the suit, in that there's like a rubber muscle, they call it a muscle suit, that sort of hugged the actor. So did that, first of all, was that designed specifically to all your body types, and how did that long process? And
that took about maybe, it took maybe about 2 weeks to eventually get everything, just in terms of material. But that suit was originally like just this, like they had like this big white cloth material, and pretty much they basically like just had you stand up, and they kind of like taped it around you and pinned it. And basically got the cutout of your body based on all the pins, and then they would mark it. And then you would come in 3 days later, and then they would cut some of it off, and they would kind of like they would take it bit by bit, so they wouldn't cut too extreme, so it was like fitted to your body yet. They would do bit by bit, and they would keep pinning, keep marking, and kind of slowly taking it in a way that the suit was fitted to your body, but you still had mobility. And then eventually that was just a mold. So they would use that as the mold, and they would completely take all those measurements, and then that's when they started to build the muscle suit. And the muscle suit was amazing. It had so much padding. So even though you're wearing a 70-pound suit, you don't feel it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't feel it at all. You just feel like you're just 7 feet tall. That's all.
So there's some shots there in the studio where you're all in test mode, like you're all in various bits of misdress and undress, and you got your helmet on and no leggings and all sorts of stuff. But did it feel like you were getting ready for Halloween or something? Like it just looks really hilarious. Like it's hilarious to watch.
Kind of. Like it didn't really hit us. I remember even when we were down in LA and we got to our hotel, I remember Sean, who's in Colossus, he was saying, like, I can't believe it's actually here. Like, we're actually going to do this. And we did kind of feel almost like Halloween-esque. Like, we're going to put this thing on, and we're going to show up, and, like, we're going to have 1 million people screaming and freaking out. But the build-up process to that, and working down at Henchman, it was literally, like, it kind of felt like Halloween, but it almost felt... How do I describe it? It was just so much fun, like they just have such an amazing team, and like I was a big jokester every time I would come in, so I was always coming with my bag of jokes, and whatever I wanted to talk about that day to have everybody laughing. So
it's funny. I think, like, I'm a binary what you thought about that, but when I saw people like in those sort of suits, my original thought would be they'd be like just phoning it in, like, oh, get the paycheck, go home.
Oh no!
All done. But you guys were fully into it. This is great.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. It was something that I looked forward to doing every time. Every time I had to go, and I was super looking forward to doing it, and being able to. And like I remember at one point they actually had to tell me to tone it down. Like just like because what I was originally going to be doing down in LA, like I was going to be because I was really playful in my suit, so and just learning how to walk in, it got to a point where like I was so confident and comfortable in it that I was just like dancing with Storm, and I was doing like the dab and the Millie Rod.
Videos of this? We need videos of this.
They have tons of videos. And I remember one day I got a note. They're like, so Adrian, yes. So we sent the videos to Bioware, and they love the fact that you're dancing. You're having fun. It's great. But please, on the day, you're actually not allowed to dance. Fine. Fine. but they were loving it. And it was a joy to be able to do that and like send video footage of that because they constantly wanted to see how it was working because we weren't always in the same space. And I remember when I eventually met Sean, Cornell, and Amanda from Bioware, that was one of the biggest things they loved, the fact that we're having fun with it, you know, and it was this fun process, and it very much felt like an adventure versus like a daunting task, you know, and it made everyone that much more excited to, you know, to move the operation that we were kind of honing from Edmonton and Toronto to LA and eventually do the event. So it was just a big adventure for everybody.
And how long?
That's awesome.
And what was it like actually wearing the suit? Because obviously, you had to wear it all day, right? For like was it over a period? Was it over a couple of days? You weren't just there for a day, right? Did you wear it over a couple of days?
We were there for maybe about 4 or 5 days.
Wow, so you were in that suit for 4 or 5 days, and they were pretty long days.
No, we only wore the suit for roughly about 3.5. But it like, what's your question again? Sorry.
So how did you start to get fatigued in the suit? Like if you were wearing it for, you know, were you wearing it 10 hours a day, or did they only put you in there for a couple of hours?
We were in it for they had us in it for roughly about half an hour to sometimes like an hour.
Oh, right.
So
okay. So
we had a lot of breaks. Yeah, we had a lot of breaks because they knew, like, at the end of the day, even if we don't feel it, it's still 70 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian's fatigue was not being able to dance. That was his
yeah,
fatigue.
yeah, that was it for me. That's all I wanted to do. But wearing it, the only thing that's fatiguing about the suit was just the foot positioning, because it's not necessarily the regular way we all walk. For women, it might be a bit less because women are used to usually walking in heels. But even then, it was still the foot positioning is still a bit different from the way normal human beings walk. So for me, my thing, like the only moments where I had to be like taken out of my suit, like they allowed us to really call our own shots as far as like letting them know it's like, okay, now I'm actually starting to feel the weight of the suit. And that would happen sometimes for me based on foot positioning. Yeah.
Okay.
So you really had to make sure, like, when you were getting strapped in, it was like everything was so precise. Or you eventually, 20, 30 minutes later, you would start to feel the fact that, you know, you're not strapped in necessarily to the way, not necessarily the way you should be, but just, you know, like the positioning was a bit off compared to the last.
You'd notice it, right?
But you'd be able to feel the difference a lot.
The interesting part of that is that it actually might be slightly accurate to the field, because if you actually look at these, you know, javelins moving in game, they do have a very obscure. I mean, I've been calling it bipedal, insectoid, even some like the way that a deer moves its knee joint when it runs. Like there's something quite not. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something quite obscure. And it's funny, your descriptions of how you're walking in it almost mirror what I'm seeing in the gameplay a little bit, at least.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, it was very close. And that was one of the things that Bioware was so specific about. Wanted to be exactly like the video game, as close to it as possible.
Yeah, they got that.
And what was people's reactions like? Because obviously we've seen pictures all over Twitter, and I've seen pictures of like John Warner, who's the game director. He's like standing in front of you guys, and
he's an amazing human being, by the way.
I know, we can't wait. Yeah, it'd be amazing to talk to the guy. He looks like, we call him Uncle John because he seems like, you know.
Uncle John, yeah, he's a great guy.
But what was it like seeing all the people's reactions and seeing like these fully 7.5 feet tall javelins? Like, were people like? I can only imagine people losing their mind, like I would have.
Yeah, everyone was going pretty crazy about it, especially like the first time we stepped out, because no one, and they were super smart about the way they did. They kind of had it in a way where people got to see like gameplay. So like they had a station where everyone was seeing different gameplays, about 20 minutes of gameplay. So you got to see each character kind of maneuver and the way they move and stuff like that. And then based on the exit, of the way you exit that gaming demo section, you would come out and the first thing you see is us. So we got to see like people step out and then just go, oh my God, and just freak out and say, I want a picture. you know.
I didn't realize they'd funneled through like that. That's pretty cool. That's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've seen grown men become kids, you know, and and that was like one of the most moving things about the entire experience was just getting to see all the reactions because there were hundreds, you know, if not thousands of people that would like funnel in and just see us in the suits and just you seen a sparkle in their eye, especially the kids, man. It was phenomenal. The kids really took to. I remember there was like this little kid that walked up and he's too short. Like it was pretty much like a 3-4 year old kid, and so he's too short to like because in terms of the framing of catching like the upper parts of our suit. So I picked him up and I was holding him in one of the pictures, and he was just like ecstatic. And
yeah,
yeah, it was great. It was so lovely to see everyone's reactions, and even like near where they had us, there was a section where like everyone got to get posters. And one of the cool things was some people didn't see us right away, so they would go in there to get a poster, and then they'd be walking off, and then they literally see us in passing, and they're like, "Oh my God!" They look at the poster. You literally see the person look at the poster, look up, look at the poster, and then run to us, and just get a whole bunch of photos. So that was by far my best experience with the whole thing. Was just the genuine human interactions. And just the joy in everybody's hearts, and especially seeing the Bioware team, and just seeing how into it they were, because they've been working on it for like years, right? So it hasn't been like just a year project; it's been around for some time.
It's a good point. Like seeing you walk around, it sounds strange, isn't it? But you guys walking around in those suits is like a realization of their years of work of design and execution.
And it was also like a bit of a first taste for them to see how people were taking to the Anthem game and the Javelin suits. And one of the things that I remember I was speaking to one of the directors, one of the producers at one of the after parties that they had, and they were saying a lot of the feedback they've been getting is the fact that the suits made it real. It's like, yeah, it was before, but the suits made it real for people. It's almost like seeing Spider-Man. So it really changed things in terms of people's perception of the game, and it made a lot of people want it even more.
That's awesome.
So now that these suits are made for you, are they going to call you back? Are you going to be doing anything? Are you going to be doing any other shows? Or you're not allowed to, is that going to be a thing?
We don't know. It's pretty much an on-call thing. It's almost like the fact that like we weren't necessarily down in San Diego. It's kind of like an on-call thing. So they are built and fit to us. But we never know until that phone call might come in, if it comes in.
It's like the bat phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's part of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Adrian, is voice acting, is that anything that sort of springs to mind for you? Like, have you done any voice acting outside of your acting you've done, or and have you considered that sort of stuff for games?
Yes. I recently did a voiceover commercial for Audible. So that was released on June 11th. I was told by the clients, the directors and producers. But voice acting is definitely something I want to do more of. I actually signed up with the voiceover section of my agency after a friend of mine who did a video game. She's been working on it for the past 3 years. It's called Starlink, and it's that was really inspiring because I remember like I would speak to her about.
That's the Ubisoft one, right?
Yeah, Ubisoft. Yeah.
With the little the spaceships, and you can
it's
bring
with the
them
Star
in.
Fox crossover, right?
Yeah. So like every time like me and my friend have touched base, she's always said like, you know, she went in to do like some voiceover, and I was like, isn't that cool? Like, you know, you literally get casted in this game and you're working on it for 3 years and you're getting to build this amazing thing, and then it's going to go off into the world and people are going to have this amazing experience with it. So so I started to audition more for that. I even had an Ubisoft audition for a game that it's all code, so you don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I know.
But it's I recently had an audition for Ubisoft, so I'm looking forward to like doing more of that and hopefully landing a video game that I can tell you guys about.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Definitely. So if Bioware's knocking, they need any more voice work for Storm, you're available.
I'm available. We actually had a couple conversations like that. So
Nice.
who knows what's coming down the pipeline.
Good stuff. Exciting. Ooh. Well, that's probably all the questions I had from the Henchman, conversation side of things, Binary. Did you have anything that you wanted to cover before we move to wrap up this evening?
More that I'm just jealous that I wasn't Thick Boy. I didn't get to dress up as the Colossus.
That would suit you, dude. That would suit
me. I feel like I have the frame. Yeah.
And my little build would be Interceptor, so I think we'd be quite the team.
Oh, you're an Interceptor. You would say Interceptor's your favorite.
Well, I'm just in terms of build, I'm a bit of a little guy. So.
He's actually like 5'2".
Oh, no.
He doesn't look it on camera, but yeah.
I don't know if this would fit inside Interceptor though. Oh dear God! But yeah, look, I'm pretty happy where we're at right now, guys. There hasn't been a lot of news in terms of Anthem this week. There's probably some more things in terms of skill trees and a few other elements that we can talk about probably in future episodes. Binary, is there any comments or questions that you've come across that you want to explore before we move to wrap up?
No, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody who's been in chat. Actually, that's hit some really good viewer counts. I never anticipated that. That was really good. So thank you everybody for coming and sort of joining us. Adrian, man, legend. Like, thank you,
dude.
Absolute dude. I didn't know what to expect, if I'm honest. There, you're an absolute stud. So
thank you, man.
Really good.
Thank you guys for having me.
No, so jealous that you got to wear a suit though. That's just nuts. Yeah.
I think Binary's fanboying out.
It's just so funny how video games are just starting to hit these so many different things, right? I went to a Royal Shakespeare prop place where they build all this stuff, and you sort of get it, right? But when you think video games and you think it's all computers, right? You think it's video cameras, but then you got people like Henchman that are building these 7 feet costumes, and then there's people in them. It's just mental. Absolutely mental. So appreciate your time, man. Absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely. And Adrian, so could you give us a spiel here? Where can we? I mean, you're in the back end of season 2, aren't you, for Maidens Tale? Maybe give us a bit of a guess. Where can you find you? Where can we message you? Where can we tweet you? Where can we see your stuff?
On Instagram, I'm Adrian Walters _ so at Adrian Walters _ Adrian with an A. Twitter, I'm Adrian N Walters, which is my middle name. They didn't let me do the same thing on Insta. So, and other than that, you can also check me out on IMDb, see what I'm up to.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
and we will do so. And thank you, of course, for following Anthem Universe as you've been doing and tweeting and replying as you do. It's very exciting.
I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and the way you guys have taken to the game and have been celebrating every step, until it's released. I think that's amazing, and especially coming from gamers, that's huge. And I'm sure the gaming community appreciates everything that you guys are doing. And I hope that you guys continue to do it because it's necessary. It's very much needed.
Thank you, brother.
Pleasure, sir. Absolute pleasure. Binary, where can we hit Anthem Universe?
Well, if you're watching us, then you already know where to find us on Twitch and Mixer. Otherwise, you can go to Anthem Universe at Twitter, and you can go to discord.anthemuniverse.com to join us on our Discord server, or hit us up on our website, which is anthemuniverse.com.
And personally, we can find you at?
The pub. No. I know. You can find me at Binary Num. So, Binary Num everywhere.
Indeed, of course. And as I said, you can hit me at OGAZ, that's at OH_GAZ. But as a collective, of course, we are at Anthem Universe. We're going to leave it there. We will see you next time for our next podcast and Twitcast and Twitch and whatever the hell we're doing with this little project of ours as we move forward and very close to Gamescom coming up in August. No doubt more news is coming. And until then, freelancers, we will see you next.
Over the wall.
Thank you, guys.
There we go.
Awesome. Look at that. Nicely done. Cool. Thanks, Adrian. Dude, absolute pleasure.
Thank you. So what's the process now? What do I do here?